Greetings from Tokyo, I'm Trip, and welcome to the Hammer of Wrath. This week, you and I are going to customize some blood angels. Let's go. This video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. Thanks for joining me in the studio. This week, I'm going to show you how you can use the Greytide Studio's Crimson Lords pack to make your Space Marines look more like blood angels. But first, I want to talk briefly about organization. Now, it should come as a shock to absolutely no one that the Japanese are known as an organized people. They have a bit of a worldwide reputation for that, and cultural icon Marie Kondo really sort of drives that home. Having lived in Japan for almost 5 years, I can tell you that there is a lot to that perception. And being clean and organized is a big part of Japanese culture. But where do the Japanese go to get the items they need to keep everything orderly and tidy? Well, in Japan, there are a few places, and one of the big ones is Nitori. Nitori is a national chain of home goods stores in which you can purchase anything from a toaster oven all the way up to a bed. And there are no shortage of organizational items in the store. If you want a bookshelf for your massive manga collection, they have one designed specifically for that. Or say you need to organize items in your pantry, or, as is very popular in Japan, organize your entire refrigerator with tiny trays meant to fit inside the drawers and shelves. Another place you can get organizational items on the cheap are any one of the number of dollar store chains here in Japan. National chains like Daiso and Seria meet consumers' needs with low-priced goods that are important for organizing your home. And living here in Japan, a little bit of that has rubbed off on me, and I have recently upgraded and reorganized my entire workspace thanks to FlexiSpot. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Let me show you how you can use the Greytide Studio's Crimson Lords pack to turn your bland Space Marines into true Sons of Sanguinius. In order to show you how effective these bits can be at completely transforming your minis, we're going to use these push-fit assault intercessors from Imperium magazine. I got them for about $15 US. In the Greytide Studios pack, there are these really great Death Company pauldrons. I selected the one that I liked, printed it out, and I went to attach it on the model. Now, the issue with some of these push-fit models is that often the pauldrons are integrated right into the sculpt. It's not like the multi-part kits where you can choose what pauldrons you want, so we got to go in there and mull those off. And then I'm going to use some super glue gel type. That's going to help us fill the gaps and make sure the connection is secure. There are tons of weapon options in the kit, but we'll choose this Inferno pistol, print that out, and then attach that again with gel super glue to make sure we filled all of our gaps and have a secure connection. Now, I'm going to be proxying these models as Firstborn Death Company Marines, so I went and found some Mark 7 helmets on Cults 3D and attached those with some super glue. And within the Greytide Studios pack, there's some really great ornate power fists. I found one that I really liked. It fit the pose perfectly, so I super glued that on. And then using some super glue, I attached a plastic pauldron from my bits box to the shoulder. Now, because we want to proxy these as Firstborn Jump Marines, I like the look of the old jump packs. I went ahead to Cults 3D, found these really great free classic jump packs, printed one of those out, and attached it to the model to finish it off. Now, as we paint this guy, I want to talk a little bit about how I completely reorganized my workspace thanks to this week's sponsor, FlexiSpot. I'm not gonna lie, cranking out videos for YouTube and doing freelance work full-time sort of turned my office and workspace into a nightmare, and what you see in the videos is sort of really strategically hidden to look clean and organized, but the rest of my office looks like this. It was time for a complete and total rethink about how I organize and use my workspace, and as luck would have it, as I was planning this out, FlexiSpot actually reached out to me to see if I would be interested in a sponsorship. I was actually eyeing a FlexiSpot desk before they had reached out to me, so when they did contact me, I was actually really excited to partner with them, and they sent me one of their E7 height adjustable standing desks. It was actually really easy to put together, and on top of having very clear printed instructions on their YouTube channel, there are also multiple step-by-step tutorial videos for any desk or chair that you want to buy that will walk you through the assembly process and make it an absolute breeze. Between my freelance design work and the content creation for YouTube, I spend a lot of time sitting in front of a computer, and as anyone can tell you, sitting for extended period of times is not really good for your health. It can cause all sorts of lower back and leg issues. If I want to change up how I'm working, all I have to do is press a button, the desk raises to a preset position that I personally programmed, and I'm able to work standing or sitting. Not only are the motors that raise and lower the desk whisper quiet, but as you can see here, they're incredibly smooth and stable. I've balanced this coin on its edge, and it didn't tip over while the desk was racing. If you act quickly and head to the link in the description below, you can take advantage of some of the incredible Black Friday deals that FlexiSpot is currently running. FlexiSpot provides all kinds of standing desks and ergonomic chairs to meet your needs. You can order their E7, E7 Pro, or the new E7 Plus with 4-leg design. As you can see here, FlexiSpot allowed me the opportunity to completely rethink my workspace from the ground up. Use my promo code YTE730 for $30 off any premium desk. Finishing the last few details on our Death Company Marine, we're going to use some Army Painter Matte White to bring out the highlights on the chest emblem. And then moving on to the base, my entire Blood Angels army is based to look like they are in a marble cathedral. So I'm going to use some Games Workshop Drakenhof Nightshade mixed with some Lamian Medium. I have an entirely separate tutorial for this on the channel if you want to check it out. But what we're doing here is laying down some very thin washes, and then we'll work our way up to a pure Drakenhof Nightshade to get a faux marble effect. We'll then apply the chapter decal on the pauldron. I actually have a separate tutorial for this on the channel as well, and I'll link it in the corner. Once those steps are complete, we'll remove him from his temporary base, use some plastic glue to secure him to the marble base, and then we'll finish with a blast of Army Painter True Blood. I love this technique, and I've decided that all of my Death Company will be slathered in blood. Death Company's fun, but let's move on to why you clicked on the video, Sanguinary Guard. Look at these jump packs, they have wings. For the life of me, I will never be able to figure out why Games Workshop made the new models without wings. We'll print some parts out, including some amazing two-handed spears and these ornate greaves and bracers. We'll use some super glue to attach these to the models. The kit will also include some really great tabards of different styles. Gluing the arms on here is a breeze. I've clipped off the arms from the push fit kit, and these fit on perfectly. And then I've got these really great pauldrons. They're perfect for Sanguinary Guard. They're very ornamental. And when we put that jump back on, that is a Sanguinary Guard. Let's get him painted up. I'm going to start with a spray of polyurethane primer from Vallejo. This stuff is amazing. If you don't have an airbrush, you can brush this on as well. It creates a perfect semi-gloss surface for the other paints to adhere to on top. Now the base, we're going to use the polyurethane white from Vallejo because we know we're going to do that marble effect later on. Now here, I'm using Greedy Gold from the Army Painter. Games Workshop metallic paints used to be my favorite, but they have been completely replaced by the metallics in the Army Painter Fanatic range. They are absolutely amazing. Now once that gold is dry, we are going to switch back to Games Workshop Reikland Flesh Shade Gloss. The gloss is the key here. It keeps the armor lustrous, but also makes the shadows dark, brings out the contrast, and keeps the model from looking flat and lifeless. When you're doing metallics, especially golds, it can all start to look really samey, and we don't want that. We want to avoid that, so this wash is going to make a big difference. Now once that's dry, we're going to get that Greedy Gold back on the brush, and then we're going to take the excess off on a paper towel, and then we'll go back through and we're going to dry brush the model very lightly, hitting the high points on the top side of the model to help define our shapes and bring out our highlights. Lastly, we'll mix in a little bit of plate mail metal in order to get the highest edges to really make them pop. And while we've got plate mail metal on our palette, we'll do the spear and the exhaust ports on the jump pack. There are tons of little details on the model. We'll have to do the soft seals. Here I'm using Army Painter Deep Gray, And then for the pouches, packs, and the handle of the spear, I'm using Army Painter Oak Brown. One of the real positives of the Army Painter Fanatic paint range is that they have incredible coverage. This is matte white going directly over a gold underspray. Now we are going to have to do multiple coats of this, but for a white it has exceptional coverage. Once that's dry, I'm going to apply Army Painter Red to the tabards. And we're going to return to that Drakenhof Nightshade and Lamian Medium mix that we used on the marble bases. Here I'm going to apply it to the wings. I'm doing a light wash over top of everything, and I'm going to let that dry and settle into the recesses. Once that's dry, we'll go through with Army Painter Matte White and bring out each individual feather. Now unfortunately I felt that the Drakenhof Nightshade was a bit too dark, so I've gone ahead and used some poster putty to mask off the gold, and then I'm spraying a very light coat of matte white through the airbrush to sort of knock back that contrast, lessen the shadows there, and bring everything to a much lighter value. Once that's done, I'm going to take some Army Painter Bright Sapphire and run that through the airbrush, put that into the exhaust ports to make it look like they're blue and white hot. And I've decided that the wings aren't just going to be white wings, they're going to be marble wings. This is sort of a theme that's carried throughout the entire army. If you've seen my video on Dante, I did something very different there and decided instead of gold, Dante would be in white marble armor. So I thought this would be a really great accent to that, as they're always going to be grouped together with him as the leader of this squad. But again, it came out a little darker than I wanted, so I had to mask off the gold a second time and then apply a light spray of that matte white to knock everything back. Now, while I've got the airbrush out, I'm going to run some of that bright sapphire through the airbrush to get a really great gradient on the tip of the spear, and then we'll move on to the base. Here, same as we did for Death Company, we've got our white base down. I'm going to apply a wash of Drakenhof Nightshade and Lamian Medium, and once that's dry, I'm going to go through with a light makeup brush and just hit white over everything. It's a really heavy dry brush. I want only the recesses to remain dark. I want to bring those whites back out. Now there's some really fun details on these bases from Greytide Studios, including these roses and this vampire skull in the corner. So I'm just using some contrast paints from Games Workshop to sort of finish these off really quickly and move on to the rest of the model. Of course, we cannot forget to try our Drakenhof Nightshade faux marble effect here to tie this into the rest of the army. So we'll very carefully use that and trying to keep it a lot lighter this time so that we don't have to do an overspray of white to knock it back. Now we'll take the model off its temporary base, and I could just super glue these two together, but I want some extra stability here. So we're going to take a paper clip and do some metal pinning. I've drilled into the foot, attached it with some super glue. Then I'll use an old pair of snips to snip that off, and we'll drill into our resin base. Now, as you can see, when we first put it together, the angle is all wrong. That's too steep a dive. So we'll go ahead and take some needle nose pliers, very carefully adjust the angle of that peg. And once we're happy with it, we'll put some super glue down and put them together. We'll give that a moment to set, and it's time for final assembly. Because this is a plastic to resin connection, we'll use some super glue, and it is always satisfying to see a model come together. And there you have it, using the Greytide Studios bits to completely transform our Assault Intercessors into two different companies within the Blood Angels. Thanks again to Greytide Studios for sending along those bits and helping me completely transform the look of my army. And thanks again to FlexiSpot for helping me upgrade and reorganize my entire workspace. Be sure to check out the link provided in the description below and use the promo code to receive a discount on any desk or accessory that you order. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. It was my genuine pleasure to make and share it with you. If you'd like to support the channel, please like, comment, or subscribe. Help drive us to the front page of YouTube and grow our audience. We are approaching the 10,000 subscriber milestone, and I can't believe we've actually made it here. Thanks again for all your support. If you'd like to support the channel in other ways, check out the Patreon linked in the description below. Remember that joining at any level grants you access to our private Discord server where like-minded hobbyists help each other out every day with honest and kind feedback. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one.